Right, GoPro. I wanted to show some of the GoPro poles and GoPro mounts that I've been using. I will start off with a proper official GoPro stick. It's the telescopic one. It's good because it's telescopic, but the build quality I do not trust. This has already snapped off, which I've reattached, and I trust this now, but I don't trust these twist joints at all. I get the feeling that if you hit it, say with the board or certainly against the foil, then they would probably just come apart very, very easily. To be fair, it's not designed to be used on the water, because it will fill up with water incredibly quickly and sink like a stone. For land, it's fine, but no good for foiling, in my opinion. A winging only mount, I've used this one here, the fly mount. It is a really good system. I'm not going to go through it completely now, but essentially this attaches onto either the leading edge bladder or the centre strut. You can change the position of it, but it won't go over the wider parts of the leading edge tubes. It's got a safety line just in case it falls off. Now this is a really good system because it's hands-free, so there's no messing around with holding something else while you're foiling, but the big problem with it, I find anyway, is that it's got to be in a certain position to be able to get the shot that you want. So it's only going to work when it's flagged out in a certain tack. So going the other side, it's not going to video you. So you've got to think before you get on the water. If you're doing a run where you're going to be holding it in your right hand, then you want to make sure it's on the right wingtip. Just practice with it on the beach before you go out there, because there's nothing more frustrating than realising when you're on the water that it's in the wrong position on the wing, and then you have to come in and change it, or if you don't notice until the end, and then of course you've got no usable footage. The most basic mount pole that I've got is this homemade pole. It's made from a real cheap broom handle, very, very light. I've filled it with expanding foam so it cannot fill up with water and sink. I've basically just bolted and silicone in there as well, just a standard GoPro mount there, and the other end I've just got some deck pads. I've also got this little rope loop which works a treat, so you can't, if you drop it, you don't lose it, but it's a real pain because I like to be able to just move really quickly, especially in transitions when you're winging, or just to change from hand to hand when you're prone foiling. And because it floats, I don't really need that anyway. So you get some really good footage, and of course you can put it pretty much anywhere you like. You're holding it, but it's always a bit of a distraction. It does get in the way when you're popping up prone foiling, and my God, it gets in the way when you're doing any sort of transition wing foiling. It's hit me in the head, it's bounced off the leading edge bladder, it's just gets in the way. It's a real pain. That led me to make this GoPro pole, another mop handle, but this one a much better quality one. It's actually Vileda, I'm not sponsored by them, but it's a really good quality metal pole, and the reason is because I used a cheap one for my first incarnation of this, and when I was pumping, it literally just snapped. It couldn't take the force of the GoPro 360 on the top. This one, it's this metal bracket that I just made out of a metal pipe. If I come forward, you can see I just put some screws here, 2 screws into foot strap inserts, the rear ones behind me, and even the front ones in front of my front foot. With it poking in front like this, it's too long. It doesn't need to be this long. It could be I mean, this is nearly 4 foot, so you could lose a third of the length. But I think it would still have too much swing weight, and it really affects the performance. You pretty much need this length. I mean, you could trim maybe a foot off of it for when it's behind on the rear foot strap inserts, but again, it still affects the performance with the swing weight. So although I've got some good footage, I don't think I'll be using that on a regular basis. That brings me to the last one, and this is my Christmas present that I got this year, and I absolutely love it. It's from a company called Sail Video System, and they do, I think, at least 3 or 4 different models of these GoPro mounts. One with just sort of like a webbing shoulder or chest harness, and at least two, if not 3 different types that fit onto a kite surfing or windsurfing harness. This one is my old ride engine kite surfing harness from when I used to kite surf, and it's got a rigid back. So this is the model with the back plate for a rigid back waist harness. The model for a soft shell harness has got a much bigger back plate. So if I take you through some of the features of this, the back plate itself is made of a thermoplast plastic, so you put it in boiling water for 2 minutes and you can mould it to the shape of the back of the harness, and it really does work very, very well indeed. It's pretty easy to do. The system is very adjustable. You pull that and then you can take it out and adjust it to be any angle, so vertical all the way down to whatever you want. I'm just going to put it back there for the moment. You push that back up and then it's completely locked and secure. There's no wobbling around. It's very, very secure. Then you undo this in order to be able to change the angle from side to side, and obviously the only restriction is when it hits the actual harness itself. So there's a very good range of angles that you can use it with. Am I going the right way? Yes, I think I am. It also has this natty little safety feature, so if you have a huge wipeout and you do actually break this the plastic locking system here, then you hopefully won't lose the whole pole. And I mean, I've put it on a D-ring here, but you can, if you don't have a D-ring, here I am struggling because I'm in one hand to do this. Okay, so any bit of webbing, you can put it around. Oh, it's got caught. You can put it around and then reattach it onto itself, like so. And again, it's nice and secure. Another nice feature is that they have made the GoPro mount out of aluminium, so there's no danger of that snapping like they can do with plastic. And the pole itself is a 2-part pole that screws together and has actually got very good grip just from hand tightening. So for me, I'll just put this on to demonstrate. I've gotten rid of the metal spreader bar and I just had this bit of webbing strap sewed together, so I can put this 3D printed plastic hook that I bought off of the internet, somebody actually off one of the Facebook groups. So I can put that like that, and if I'm wing foiling, obviously I don't put the hook on if I'm just prone foiling, but if I'm wing foiling I can put that on instead of the metal spreader bar, and it serves very nicely as a harness line hook that moves from side to side. So I can either shift it out of the way and then lie on the board when I'm pulling myself up onto the board, and it won't damage the board itself. Or, for example, when I'm riding toe side, then the hook just slides naturally across. It gives me a much nicer angle so that I'm not twisted around. I find I can go upwind much easier when it's like that. So, as long as your harness is nice and secure, there's no wobble. It really is very good. Even when I'm pumping, it doesn't feel like there's anything swinging around. It feels like it's very sturdy, very secure. The build quality is excellent. I will put a link to to their website in the video description. One thing though, you can't obviously change the angle while you're on foil. I mean, I don't think anybody could, I certainly can't. But what you can do is when you're just in the water, you're either sitting on your board or you're in the water next to the board, you can just swivel your harness around so it's facing in front of you. And then of course you've got access to all of the controls, to all of the bits that you need to do in order to change the angle should you want to while you're on the water. So you can do all of this if you want without going back to the beach, which could be a bit of an advantage. Now the only bad thing, disadvantage about this, as far as I'm concerned, is for all the angles you can have it at behind you, you can't have the camera in front of you. But what you can do, if I'm strong enough to do it, oh, I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? That's why. Right, so you can, again, I wouldn't do this while you're on the foil, but when you're in the water you can unscrew it and then you can just hold it in front of you to the side, whatever you want to do, and then obviously settle back in the water, and probably best to bring it around in front of you to put it back into place. Voila. I wouldn't recommend it. I haven't done it myself because if you drop it, you're definitely going to lose it. So I might figure out some way of putting a rope loop on it. Obviously a rope loop might then be visible if it's not within the blind spot of the 360 camera. So you've got to be careful about that. But anyway, that was just a thought if somebody is actually desperate to get a front filmed shot while they're on the water. So for me, this is the best hands-free GoPro mounting system that I've come across. I do like this one as well, the fly mount, but obviously it's only any good when you're wing foiling. So for prone foiling, subfoiling, obviously, this is a really good one. You don't have to worry about a pole getting in the way, worrying about it in that way. Okay, hope this has been helpful. Any questions, give me a shout. Catch you later.
Okay, there are going to be 3 clips, each of a few minutes long, showing 3 different positions that you can put the harness mount to. This first clip, the pole is swung all the way around as far as it can go to my right. Now I'm goofy footed, so bearing in mind if you're regular footed, then it'll be opposite for you. But this position enables the, well, as close to being filmed from the front as possible, which is actually a lot more effective as a front mounted cam than I anticipated. There are disadvantages though. For a start, you can tell that my front arm, the elbow, is constantly up when I'm luffing the wing, because if I didn't hold my elbow up, my arm would literally bash into the pole as I swing my arm as I'm turning. So this gives a very awkward feel, and it's a bit of a pain. But if you really want this angle, then it's not the end of the world. Also, another big problem with this position is, you'll see later on in this clip, when I'm carving all the way around to the right, that's the left of the screen as you're watching it, and I have to obviously then swing the wing all the way around to the other side, it really does very easily bash into the pole, and my harness line has got wrapped around the pole as well, which makes it really difficult. And there you go, see, it's bashed against it, it's gone past, and the harness loop could sort of thread through the pole, which makes it very difficult to recover from. So those are the issues with this particular position. At the start of each new clip, I will just give a very brief talk through as to how I found each position to use. Okay, this is video clip number 2, and the position of the pole is coming directly out from my back, or very, very nearly directly out. I think it's angled slightly to the right. Now, pros and cons. The advantages, I think, is that it never gets in the way. It absolutely never got in the way. My wing never hit it. My arms never got anywhere near it. Even falling off, I thought that it was that there was least danger of it bashing against something. In takeoffs, climbing onto the board, that sort of thing, wasn't ever in the way. Not a problem at all. The disadvantage, I think, is that it makes me look like I'm in poo stance the whole time. I like the angle from the point of view that I think it's got the best clarity of the water state, and you can see the swell quite nicely, and obviously you can see the lines as you're carving from side to side. But like I say, I think it makes me look as if I'm sticking my arse out the whole time, and not the most flattering of angles really, but hey ho, it's a very usable angle for the pole to be in.
All I want
so this is the third and final angle, and it's all the way over to my left. So you'll see in a minute the footage when I'm actually downwinding. It gives, for me anyway, I think the most dynamic angle for the video footage. You can see the calves really nicely. From the point of view of the water state, yes, okay, the last position where it's coming from directly behind me, you could see the water state and the swell a little bit more clearly. When I put the question out on my Instagram as to let people vote for their favourite camera angle, most people, the majority of people, voted for the last angle where it's coming directly out from behind me, which surprised me, but you know, hey ho, the people have spoken. From the usage point of view, it never got in my way. It was fine for when I was using it. The only time there was ever an issue, and it wasn't really a big problem, was when I was climbing onto my board. When I was on the downwind side of my board, the GoPro could bash into the wing because it was downwind of me. But it really wasn't an issue. It felt very comfortable, easy to use, and yeah, my personal favourite from the video footage point of view. I just think it's the most dynamic angle. Awesome. Well, there we go. I hope this was interesting or helpful. And as ever, if you've got any questions, give me a shout. I'll put a link to the website for Sale Video Systems into the video description. Okay. Good time to sign out.